Why does aggression, violence, and hate happen? Did you ever think about it? Why does it happen more to one person and not the other? Why can one woman attract in a ton of good, healthy men, but other women are complaining all men are narcissists? Huh. Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into that. I'm Kerry Blaser, the Divine Feminine. My soul's name is Sophia. And the main reason I have this YouTube channel and I make these videos is to share my free ebook, my 6 Divine Feminine Self-Love Strategies. We'll teach everyone how to transform their emotional wounds into personal wisdom. But what's the value of that at a society level? Let's learn from Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist, who discusses this exact topic in the form of cancel culture. So let's learn from him before we do a deeper dive on how all this works.
What we need to do is start to figure out how we can, I think, especially for the next generation of kids, how to teach them to regulate their nervous system so that they recognize that pulse of adrenaline as placing them in a compromised position. Like, we have to leverage the idea that being able to hear and listen hinges on the ability to be calm. So therefore, the ability to be calm is crucial to hearing and listening is crucial to our advancement as individuals and as groups. The problem is everyone's been trying to do this backwards. They've said we all have to get along. We have to cancel culture. We all have to, listen to one another. And I think, again, we have to start from the inside. We have to teach it physiologically. Now, I don't have a master plan on how to do that, but one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I'm, teaching neuroscience on Instagram and not just in my laboratory is until we can learn to regulate the self, I don't think we're going to get where we want to go as a culture. What we need to do.
Now, I agree with Dr. Huberman, and it's one of my 6 teachings in the book. Changing the world is an inside job. And like he said, cancel culture doesn't work because you're starting in the wrong place. You're acting as if our external realities exist and our external realities create our internal reality, when the opposite is true. We live in a holographic universe. So our internal reality is projected externally for us to see ourselves. And that's why self-love creates heaven on earth. Heaven is a projection from our hearts, not an external reality we will eventually get to when we work hard enough physically and we kind of make ourselves unimportant, make everybody else more important, and then we'll get there after death. Well, I'm here to teach something different as the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. I know Christianity teaches that the cross is the only ladder to heaven, an external locus of control, just like thinking that cancel culture will solve our internal problems. No, solving our internal problems will create a different hologram from the society that you're in, and then based on that hologram, you can see where else you need to change. Today, we're going to look at Sophia, divine wisdom. And then we'll take a look at Carl Jung and the work that he did on it. And we can learn that based on the frequency in your soul, in your heart, is what attracts your life to you. So if you're attracting a lot of fear, guilt, and shameful experiences, that's showing you the fear, guilt, and shame in your own soul. And this is all based on the laws of physics. And we'll get to that after this next video. So let's start with this video and see if we can do a little bit deeper dive into spirituality around Sophia. And then even Carl Jung says that there's a Sophia stage of healing. And we'll get into that with a deep dive into ChatGPT. But let's start with this video and see what we can learn here. All right, let me make it bigger and then we'll get going.
The records indicate that defense is the primary trigger for aggression. When you raise a shield, you are broadcasting a declaration of war to the cosmos. And the universe, in its responsive mechanics, complies with your declaration by dispatching the enemy you anticipate. This is the fundamental anomaly in spiritual warfare.
As Rumi always said, what you seek seeks you. So if the projection out of your heart is defense, then the universe comes back with defense to show you itself. And I'll show you the laws of physics experiment about how that works in a minute, but this is exactly how the universe operates.
You cannot protect yourself from malevolence because the very attempt at protection generates a vibrational signature of fear. And fear is the beacon, the sustenance, and the invitation. The protocol we are investigating here is not about fortifying your perimeter, but about dissolving it entirely until there is zero surface area to be targeted. Spiritual invisibility, the operational shield of Sophia, is not a barrier of blinding white light. It is a frequency of non-existence relative to the predatory system. You become a glitch in the archontic radar.
I mean, Christianity always said, love thy enemy. But Christianity has also failed at loving thy enemy with all of the killing that it's engaged in, the Inquisition, burning women at the stake for saying their intuition connects them to God. And the Manifest Destiny really killed 60 million buffalo, 90% of the Native American population, beavers, otters, salmon. And we all did that because God gave us dominion over animals and land, says Christianity. But that's an external locus of control. That's in direct contradiction to the fact that we live in a holographic universe. So when you acknowledge you live in a holographic universe and you turn all the wounds into wisdom inside your soul, that is what breaks down the barrier. That's the invisibility cloak. That's how you don't attract anger and violence and hate into your life, because your soul doesn't need to show it to you anymore. And that's what my free ebook does below.
As long as you continue to engage, you continue to be tracked. The only viable victory is not to defeat the darkness, but to become undetectable to it. To comprehend the mechanics of invisibility, we must first conduct a forensic analysis of the predator-prey interaction. The reality we inhabit, according to the Gnostic files, operates on a strict system of energetic consumption. Just as biology mandates that life consumes life, the hyperdimensional structure of this system requires that denser consciousnesses feed upon the emotional exhaust of those who still possess the divine spark. When you experience fear, indignation, rage, or even that subtle anxiety of, I need to stay safe, you are transmitting a high-fidelity radio signal. The ancient texts referred to this as resonance. An astral entity does not perceive your physical biology. It perceives your thermal emotional signature.
So our souls or energy bodies, which physicists have proven that we have, communicate via emotions, with shame being the lowest vibrating emotion at 20 hertz and enlightenment being the highest vibration at 700 to 1,000 hertz, depending on the enlightenment experience. So what signature are you putting out? What signal are you putting out? And what signal is the universe mirroring back to you? Like America just dropped a bomb on Iran. Does Iran put out a signal of health, compassion, or does Iran put out a signal of terror, hate, and violence? And what are they getting in return? So this whole love thy enemy starts with love thyself. And when you understand that we're all souls having a human experience and that we co-create this reality that we live in, then we can co-create a different reality. And this is why self-love creates heaven on earth. And now is the time for it. That started in 2012, and the Mayan calendar indicates that when 2012 was the year the time cycle ended, the time cycle of codependent healing. Go to somebody else for your healing, like go to Christianity to get forgiveness from Jesus. That external locus of control, the time was over. And it started a time of an internal locus of control. And with the internal locus of control, now we can have this larger global conversation about, based on the laws of physics, how does the violence happen and how do you attract it into your life? Because now is the time for self-healing. Now is the time for self-awareness. It's completely aligned with the Native American Great Purification. Completely aligned.
If you are vibrating at the frequency of prey requiring defense, you illuminate the lower astral plane like a flare. The shield of Sophia, therefore, initiates with a paradox that is terrifying to the ego. To secure your safety, you must abandon the necessity for security. You must cease all reaction. The majority of protection protocols currently circulated are, in fact, entrapments disguised as assistance. You are instructed to visualize spheres of light, to invoke guardians, to decree laws.
Those are all external locus of power. And on just basic psychology, when you have a external locus of power, like fear God and you're subservient, fear God, like Christianity's teaching to put fear out and then attract fear into your life. How does that create an environment where we love thy enemy? It creates an environment of fear, domination, and control. It's much easier to control people when they're scared than when they're enlightened. It's much easier to control people when they have an external locus of control and they don't know that they have the inner authority all along. Hence why Christianity burned women at the stake who said their intuition connects them to God. I would have been burned at the stake. I'm sure my soul, the body my soul was inhabiting has been many times.
What the data fails to mention is that each of these operations requires a massive expenditure of your own mental and emotional reserves. You are depleting your vital battery to construct an imaginary fortification. And what occurs when your focus wavers? The fortification collapses. Furthermore, by visualizing intense light, you are effectively mimicking the behavior of a moth to a flame. But in reverse, you attract parasitic entities drawn to large concentrations of radiant energy that lack the correct frequency of concealment. The true shield does not shine. It obfuscates. It is founded on the principle of Reshaping, the strategic withdrawal Sophia executed when she realized her luminosity was being harvested in the chaos. She did not engage the shadows. She cloaked herself in a veil of vapor, becoming indistinguishable from the environment until she could regenerate her power. This brings us to the practical application of non-resistance. Do not misinterpret this as passivity or submission. It is a tactical maneuver of the highest order. Hypothesize that you are in a pitch-black room and you are aware that something is hunting you. If you ignite a flashlight to protect yourself and identify the threat, you have revealed your exact coordinates. If you scream, "Get away," you have provided a sonic lock.
What you seek seeks you to show you yourself. So if you're not afraid in a dark room, even though you have an invader, and you stay silent and you emit no frequency, there's no frequency for them to respond to. And this is how it works. So let's say there's two tuning forks, and one frequency is 500 and one is 400. When the 500 moves, the 400 does not move. But when they're both 400, when the 400 moves, the other 400 also moves, drawing our perception. What you seek seeks you. It's quantum physics.
Sophia's technique is absolute silence and assimilation into the darkness of the void. In your daily operations, this translates to a specific protocol. When a negative vector appears, a conflict in the workplace, a familial injustice, a digital provocation, your immediate reflex must not be, "How do I defend?" but rather, "How do I energetically disappear from this equation?" You achieve this by withdrawing the immediate emotional investment. You observe the event, but you do not ingest it. You do not permit it to breach your internal processing field.
You don't internalize
The critical
it.
error.
Like when I was a child, my parents projected a ton of self-hate, and I didn't know any better, and I internalized it. And it took me till my 45th birthday, when my mom passed away on my birthday, for me to finally be called to heal. But if we teach kids not to internalize other people's self-hate, like when someone calls people stupid, if I call 10 people stupid, do they all respond the same? No, it depends on their emotional maturity. The really emotionally mature ones will have no response at all. No, they won't add any energy, any sentiment. They'll just be invisible. But those who agree, that find resonance with what I said, they'll get triggered, and then their soul will trigger that emotional pain to the surface, and then there's the lash out, there's the reaction. But that's all lack of awareness. When you're aware of yourself, you're aware of your emotions, and you know how to regulate your emotions, you're not reactive. You're not throwing your energy out there in uncontrolled ways, bringing upon more hate, violence, and aggression. Just show you yourself. I mean, we've shown Iran itself in a major way. That's one way it plays out.
We commit is the assumption that our identity is solid. We operate under the belief that we are person X with specific opinions, rights, and traumas. This solidified identity is a stationary target. It is akin to a stone statue, immobile and simple to strike. The shield of Sophia requires you to become like water, or more accurately, like vapor. If one attempts to strike vapor, the hand passes through. There is no impact, because there is no resistance. When you apply this fluidity to your psyche, the assault of evil, whether it be a spiritual entity or a toxic individual,
So
finds
let's
no
talk
point of
about
contact.
how you can can create no point of contact in your own soul. So there's no emotional pain to trigger. That's my self-love strategies. And it takes time. Like I've been at this for 10 years and now I'm finally creating a YouTube channel. I have about 350 subscribers today. And I had 130 a week ago. So I'm just starting to grow. I'm just getting out there at the beginning of March of 2026. So let's learn more about what you can do to transform your own wounds into wisdom, and you can stop attracting hateful, aggressive, violent, unhealthy relationships, unhealthy jobs, unhealthy experiences into your life. Well, let's stop giving the universe a reason to do that. And the only way you can do that is by changing the vibration of your soul, of your energy body. All right, let me share my screen and we'll look at some pages in a weekly webinar that I give. Okay, let's get on the laws of physics. So after I experienced enlightenment for the first time in 2024, I started looking for, what is enlightenment? Because my kids, we all got freaked out, my kids too, and I had to explain it. And I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. So I didn't know about Sophia and Mary Magdalene and all. I didn't look there. I live in America. I went east. I learned Chinese. I learned classical Chinese. I met my ex-husband who's Israeli in Tibet. I went for it. So when I experienced enlightenment the first time and I didn't know what it was, I was like, oh, I never learned that enlightenment is an emotion, even though I lived in Chinese Buddhist monasteries. Now, I'm not saying that they don't know. I'm saying I never learned that. So when I came upon this is how I learned that we all have energy bodies or souls that physicists have proven, and our souls communicate via emotions, via sentiment. That's why to be invisible in violence is there's no sentiment of shame, guilt, fear, pride, and these kind of lower vibrating emotions, the stuck energy. Because when I'm in enlightenment, I understand that I only attract hate in my life when I hate myself to show me myself. That's the only reason it happens. So when I stop hating myself and I stop projecting that, the universe doesn't have anything to mirror back to me that's hateful. And my life is becoming a lot less hateful. And because I'm Sophia, I'm the heartbeat of the collective, I'm hoping that over time, this is my dream, this is my soul's purpose, is to teach everyone how to expand their emotional range. And when we all expand our emotional range to include enlightenment so we can receive wisdom on our own, we have that own inner authority, that we learn how to operate our own souls so that the sentiment we express through our hearts is positive, and then what's mirrored back to us by the universe is positive. But let's watch this physics experiment that shows how this two-tuning fork example works. Why what you seek seeks you. And only when that part of your soul vibrates does that then trigger the other souls to vibrate as well, kind of showing you who your tribe is, who your identity is. It doesn't make you right or wrong. I mean, a lot of people used to believe that the earth is flat. And because of the numbers, all these people believe, so it must be right. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's not mob rule in terms of science. Okay. So as we just saw, when the tuning forks vibrate at the same frequency, when one of them moves, it just automatically moves the other. So if you're vibrating in a frequency of shame, guilt, and fear, it's impossible not to project that out of your heart. And it's impossible for the universe not to respond in kind, to show you yourself. You see what I mean? Okay. I am going to share now my two favorite videos. My two favorite videos are, the first one is how and why the heart is a vortex. And then, oh, I don't have that up. And then we're going to see how hearts are formed in the embryo. Why is that important? Okay, we're talking about internal locus of control and the laws of physics. So now I'm going to bring in Einstein and Tesla. Einstein said and taught everyone that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The field meaning the energy field, the particle meaning the body, or in this instance, blood in the embryo. Blood in the embryo flows before the heart is formed. But we teach everyone the heart is a pump, that our body is a mechanical device. It's just, external locus of control. So, but if they taught us the heart is a vortex, people could ask, well, if I have my own vortex in my heart and I'm that powerful of a creator, what do I need control for? You see? So even though for the past 40 years we've known this, it's not widely taught. So let's listen to these videos and learn what the doctors have to say. Dr. Tom Cohen is going to read a description of why the heart is a vortex. Oh, let me get into a little bit more. So our energy bodies communicate out through our hearts, and our hearts, the nervous system in our hearts is far more complex than our brains, and our hearts send far more signals to our brains than the other way around. Like when I have fear in my soul, it comes out through my heart, communicates to my brain then releases cortisol. See how that goes that way? Right? And the heart is the feminine and the brain is the masculine. When the heart, you surrender your emotions and then the masculine decides what to do. And the surrender always comes first because that's where you build propulsion, momentum, and inertia to climb your next mountain. Okay, so in its communication, the feminine communicates her emotions so the masculine can decide what to do. Heart, feminine, mind, masculine. So you can probably see why the mind, and the mind being number one in a patriarchal society, goes together. Here we go. Let me bring up the first one about how the heart is a vortex.
Let me just read this because I think it's actually probably one of the best descriptions of the heart that I've ever run across. They taught you the heart was just a glorified meat pump, that it squeezes and pushes blood like some crude mechanical device, a hydraulic engine made of flesh. That is what they want you to believe, because if you buy into that primitive lie, you never ask deeper questions. But it is false. It has always been false, and the real science proves it. Dr. Francesco Torrenguas, a Spanish cardiac researcher, discovered what the textbooks refused to acknowledge, that the heart is not a pump. He dissected thousands of hearts and found that the heart is a single continuous muscle band folded into a spiral. He proved that the heart works like a vortex generator, creating suction and torque, not pressure. He called it the helical ventricular myocardial band, and it changes everything. The real movement of the blood comes from pressure differentials, electromagnetic flow, and coherent resonance. The blood spirals naturally. It need not be forced through miles of arteries and capillaries. The so-called pump is not strong enough to push thick fluid through 60,000 miles of tubing. That is basic physics. That lie was dead on arrival. Here is the truth. Blood moves before the heart forms in the embryo. That is, by the way, a documented fact. It flows via frequency, resonance, and electric charge. The body is a field, not a factory. Your heart creates a toroidal electromagnetic field that radiates 6 meters from the body. This field syncs with the earth, the sun, and every living being around you. It is a resonator, a tuner, a conductor. It aligns the rhythm of your cells. It feels, it remembers, it emits, and it responds to emotion, thought, light, sound, and breath. When you feel love, grief, fear, or peace, your heart transmits it. It is the central frequency modulator of your biology, not a pump. And the institutions know this. The Heart Math Institute has measured these fields for decades. They know the heart has more neuronal cells than parts of the brain. They know it is a second brain. They know coherence in the heart transforms the entire nervous system. So why are they still teaching children a 400-year-old guess from William Harvey that has never been updated?
That is an excellent question. Do schools indoctrinate us, or do they empower us with wisdom and knowledge? I'll let you answer that question. But I want to share the Tesla quote before we look at the next video. Tesla famously said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." But when we teach people that bodies are just mechanical, that there's no energy body, there's no soul controlling everything, then we're just stuck in our existence. But we teach people their heart is a vortex and what a vortex can do, and that there's inner authority, that our energy is what's driving matter, that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. That would be quite empowering to a lot of people. But let me share how a heart is formed because it's so beautiful. Before the heart beats for the first time, something far greater begins to move. Long before your heart ever beat, thousands of cardiac cells made a silent decision. There was no pulse, no rhythm, no sound. In the earliest stages of development, individual heart cells began firing electrical signals on their own. They're looking for each other. Then something remarkable happens. They synchronize. Because we communicate via sentiment of our souls. And so they're communicating via energy, via sentiment. Oh, we're the same frequency. We align. Let's synchronize. We're the heart cells. Separate impulses align into one coordinated electrical wave. That wave triggers the first contraction, the first heartbeat, the beginning of a rhythm that can last a lifetime. So I will leave it there. Please check out my ebook below so you can learn how to transform your emotional wounds, your fear, guilt, and shame into love, compassion, and enlightenment. And when you're emitting that from your heart, see how the hologram changes in your life. Please reach out with any questions. I have client services on my website, kerryblaser.com. Take care. Bye.